think the coolest part is like it starts, runs, and drives. It's smooth and quiet, and the AC works. That's pretty neat.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it, and I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story.
So I'm trying to work my way through some of the kinks on the truck, and one of those is those lights that are on the dash. So I'm far from the first guy to do the FJ Cruiser transfer case swap at a Tacoma, and I'm also not the first one that wants those lights working. So from what I've read and learned, we need to find the sensors on the side of the case underneath there, and then we'll connect the wires up underneath since there's already wiring there, and then we're going to pull out the glove box, and apparently up underneath here somewhere there is the four-wheel drive ECU. So we got to jump some wires there, and that will give us a working high range, low range light on our dash for the four-wheel drive. So let's get to work. So that four-wheel drive ECU is like right there. So if you lay on your back and look up there, you can kind of pull this loose. You can unplug these two plugs. And then what you'll find is one plug has, the only one that has a yellow with a black striped wire, also has a red with a blue striped wire. The yellow with a black striped wire is coming from the sensor underneath the truck for low range. The red with the blue striped is coming from the four-wheel drive high range selector. So you go to 4 high, this one would be triggered, and then when you move over to a low range, then this one would also get triggered. So the other plug is the outputs going to your instrument cluster. On the instrument cluster side of things, the red, solid red wire is your four-wheel drive high range selection, and the brown with white stripe wire is the low range selection. So we're going to cut and splice these two together. We're no longer using the ECU. We don't need to plug it in. So we'll just zip tie these up out of the way and make those connections. And then we got to go underneath and actually connect our sensor wires to our sensors on our FJ transfer case. Okay, so you can see what I did with my connections there. Red with blue stripe to solid red, and yellow with black stripe to the brown and white. I'm gonna wait, tie these up after I made my connections underneath, just so we can verify that everything works like it's supposed to. All right, so underneath the truck, you've got these plugs that have been plugged into the original transfer case on the Tacoma. So we're gonna take those and tie them into the sensors that are up on top where the shifter comes out. Yeah, up there. Anyway, so we got it. These two wires, which are we should have on this side one coming from the high-low range, and on the other side detent switch for the 2 4-wheel drive, because they're on opposite shift forks. So we'll get those all tied together, and you can see, followed that wiring down. Again, you have the red with the blue stripe and the yellow with the black stripe coming from the sensors here. So we'll tie those in accordingly up top. Okay, so funny enough, the wires coming out of those sensors down there are both the same color. So I just hooked one to one wire and one to the other wire. Huh, 4-wheel drive indicator works. And low range. Oh, weird. Okay, so there is 2 sensors on the driver's side or left side of the transfer case. Apparently one of those must indicate neutral, And the second one, or must be the other one, whatever one I'm not hooked to, must be the one that actually indicates low, because you should have high range, neutral, low range. And unfortunately, when I'm in neutral is when I am indicating. So we're almost there. Let's hook to the other sensor. Okay, now we are hooked to the forward sensor. Interesting. Well, at least I'll know that it's not in high range. So the low range light activates now in both the neutral position and the low range position. That's good enough for me. Unfortunately for you guys still running your ADD or axle disconnect deal in the front. Is that what that stands for? I don't know. Anyway, if you're still running that, I don't know how all that stuff wires up. I'm sorry, this isn't a tutorial on that. This is just to get your four-wheel drive indicator lights working on your FJ case. So check, one thing down. Next is the ABS stuff. So I have totally eliminated the ABS module. There is a giant plug there with a ungodly amount of wires where there used to be an ABS module that I've since disconnected. There's nothing there. There's, like on this passenger side, there's just one giant plug of wires. I'm guessing I'm probably just gonna have to get in there and pull some bulbs if that's possible. And then I'm gonna do, I think I seen a thing about grounding out something to eliminate the TPMS light. So ideally I'll be able to get that stuff done and drive this thing down the road with like no warning lights flashing and stuff. It'll work like a cluster should work. Okay, so I got my hydro assist steering hooked up. So I've got my ram from Surplus Hydraulics, some fittings, some hoses, and then drilled and tapped the gearbox like I done before. I got that. My hoses are hooked up there, and then you can kind of see the one on the back side. There's tons of tutorials on where to drill and tap IFS Toyota box for hydro assist. Now, I have not done any pump modifications to this. I know that on my old truck, I had to like drill and shim the pump. I am going to test this one as is, and if I don't get the desired results, then I'll maybe look into that. But for now, I'm gonna try it as is, see how it works out. But yeah, once you get it on, you gotta with the wheels in the air, before you ever start the engine, you gotta crank the wheels back and forth 100 times until you don't get any bubbles in your fluid anymore before you ever try to start it. So, but we did that, started it, and it seems to be turning well. So now I'm gonna go back to those lights. So I got my four-wheel drive lights working. Now I think I'm gonna try and see if I can pop that cluster and get rid of that ABS light. So you can see the plug down, like the plug's right there. Like there's nothing there anymore, nothing to hook to. Maybe a good spot for an auxiliary battery or something, we'll see. But so since I don't have that at all, I think the next move is to try and pull those lights for the brake lights on the dash. All right, so I popped the dash, pulled the cluster, pulled the back cover off the cluster, and there's no light bulbs anymore. Everything's got little LEDs. So, however, when I pulled it, these needles were there, all bottomed out. However, I'm thinking that you can pull this lens face piece out just a little bit, and I can see I need to cover those two lower square holes are the ones that the ABS and brake lights shine through. So maybe I can get just a piece of tape on the back of those to cut that light out. At least that's what I'm going to try. And we are down to just the tire pressure light. So next we'll tackle that. There's a couple of different theories on that that I read online, but yeah, that thing's going away. All right, now lastly, we're in the glove box, back in the glove box area here. Should have looked at it ahead of time and done this while I was in here for my four-wheel drive wiring, but I didn't. Anyway, on this connector here, which was tucked in behind the wiring harness on the right side, there's this blue wire, which I happen to have more blue wire, so I extended it. You cut that and ground it, and supposedly that takes care of our TPMS light. So let's go check it out. All right. The light's still blinking. Well, poop. Okay, since my tire pressure monitor hack didn't work, I did some more reading, and there's other theories online that says on the 2009 and newer trucks, which mine's an '08, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the cutoff is. But if it doesn't kill the light by going to ground with the blue wire here, then you need to go to, it's a 5-volt reference. You need to go positive 5 volts or more. Guys are getting away with the 12 volts all the time. So I hooked mine up, found a wire here from our unused four-wheel drive ECU plugs that has a 12 volt signal when the key ignition is on and not when it's off, so it won't be drawing constantly. So I tied it into that. I'm going to take it for a ride, or just start it up, I guess, and see if that's enough to make the light go off. All right, so clutch start cancel, neutral. Hey, no tire light. All right. So apparently maintenance is required, and I don't have my seatbelt on. My doors are open, but no brake lights, no flashing four-wheel drive lights, no tire pressure light. Nice clean dash. I like it. One by one, we're eliminating things off the list. So I've been driving the truck quite a bit, and I'm trying to take care of the darting, or wandering, I guess. It kind of wanders a little bit on the road. And I think the Johnny joints, I went ahead and rebuilt those. That definitely tightened it up some. The tires, you could see that I was just riding like on the centers of the tires. I had the air pressure originally at like 26. I am all the way down to like 20 PSI, and you can see that you can see the dirt line. Like I'm using most of the tire, right? There's still maybe a tiny bit of the edge, so I don't know if I need to drop that down a tiny bit yet. Must be something good on there. Oliver's checking it out. I have adjusted the link arm length. So originally I had the caster set at like 8 degrees, and after talking to a couple of guys, they said that maybe that was too much. So I have dialed the caster back, and I need to test drive it again. I've done it incrementally, and it's gotten better. I tried 6. And now I just adjusted again, and I'm close to 4, so I need to drive it again. However, ever since I did the hydro assist, I never did the pump modifications, so the hydro assist is a little lazy. So I'm going to go ahead and get that taken care of as well, and I'll report back. Well, hopefully we can get the driving dialed in, get this thing so it's got some good road manners. I may have to add a front sway bar. It is pretty soft in the front, and that may be contributing to some of it too. So also grizzly rear locker. So as you go through corners and that thing loads and unloads, it locks and unlocks, you can tell in this short light chassis that it's how it's transferring the power. You can feel it in the back end, and occasionally you do hear a snap or a pop as that does that, which could be contributing to some of the weird handling characteristics that I have. But yeah, all in all, super stoked. The ride is great. All of the lights are off on the dash after the modifications I did there. So that's really cool. Just waiting to get this driving dialed in 100%, and then I am going to move on to getting a front drive shaft in it, which I was talking to Clayton from Dirt Garage, and he mentioned that he was able to sleeve his original drive shaft with another piece of pipe. I am going to replicate that because that sounds like an inexpensive option, and we're all about that. So also I need to build some kind of bed crossbars. I have these super nice bed crossbars that Kyle at Special Ops Motorsports helped me build for my Tundra, and I think that we are going to try and get something made up so we can put the tent on the top of the truck. Hoping to take it camping July 6th to the 9th. So right now, if I put the topper back on, it's a little bit taller than the cab. And the problem with that is that garage door. So topper's cool, right? But I can't put the tent on top of the topper. I'm too tall to fit out of the garage. So I need to work on a solution that gets my tent mounted more flush with the roof. I have even talked to a couple of guys about cutting down that aluminum topper, which would be super rad if we could make a half height top with doors so we had some access. Still had the flip up deal in the back for the awning, but then with the tent mounted, the tent would be like, real close to roof height. That would be the ideal solution. So hopefully we can work towards something in that realm. Also, before I go, I'm gonna have to come up with some sort of a bumper with some pull points. I was really hoping to wait and make a bumper once I had the fiberglass. Doesn't look like I'm gonna have it in time, so I need to get started on that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys following along, staying up to date. And we are going to keep tweaking this thing until it is a comfortable, daily drivable cruiser.